Hi everyone, welcome to another review by Geek, Dhaba, and today we're going to review an up-and-coming sitcom called Abbott Elementary. And just disclaimer, I loved it. I don't know how Mubarak feels about it yet, but I watched it and I just texted him to watch it. And I appreciate this man because I tell him to watch anything and it'll take him 3 business days to watch it sometimes. But I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say because I have a feeling he's not as happy about it as I am. So I'm gonna let you talk. I feel like you've been aching to say some things about this show, so floor is all yours.
First off, I hate you. Second off,
oh my god.
This was a nice show, don't get me wrong, but the hype you attached to this was not justified. And I don't know how to say this politely.
Oh, go ahead.
The age of sitcom is dead. The age of sitcom is dead.
I mean, obviously you're entitled to your opinions. I'm not going to disagree. You obviously have lots of valid reasonings to say that. And I guess personally for me, I think I know what formulas I'm attached to at this point. I think I know what I like. One of my top 2 favorite sitcoms of all time. I'm generally also a sitcom person. Were The Office US and Parks and Recreation. I adore both of them. Whether I'm going through a tough time or a good time, I'm bound to rewatch these or have them playing on the side. And I feel like this show, I think why it hit home for me was because it was a combination of the formulas that they used in both of those shows. I think that's why I got really attached to it. You have a range of characters, each is very different. Each has their own comedic element to it. And that's basically the formula of most sitcoms nowadays. You have Superstore, you have Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you have The Good Place. You have a lot of these sitcoms, and they have a very basic formula. And if done well, that works in their favor. It's pertinent to note that Parks and Rec and The Office did not really have the strongest of season 1s. There are many people out there who I do recommend these shows to, and they go I watched season 1 of Parks and Rec, and that was 6 episodes, and I didn't really like it, so I stopped. Or even The Office. Given The Office is a very specific brand of humor that not everyone is really gonna go for. But despite that, if I had dropped Parks and Rec at season 1, I probably would not have been exposed to the gold that the rest of the seasons were.
Yeah.
And I think season 1 of Abbott Elementary is very strong already. Yes, it has some flaws, but I think with every sitcom or every comedy show, obviously, a lot of more development is needed for things to flow even smoothly. So obviously, with the more passage of time, with more episodes, you're probably going to get that little vibe, or you're going to get pulled into the flow of things. I really did enjoy this show. I mean, I think it's been quite a while. I think I was really missing the sitcom universe recently because most of my sitcoms did end recently. Mom ended. As well, Superstore ended recently, and I really wanted that little weekly sitcom thing. And I was attempting a few of the old ones, new ones. I wasn't really vibing with them, and then this one came along, and I was just giggling straight off. Fun fact: the guy who plays Gregory is the little kid from Everybody Hates Chris, and it took me 2 episodes to realize his expressions are just the same. This guy looks so familiar. Where have I seen him? And then I had to Google this guy, and it was a kid. So he had that practice. He really nailed the little camera looks. And I'm sure that many people are going to draw comparisons to The Office from it, but I'm not going to go there because I don't want to compare it to The Office, even though there are very obvious comparisons. They have that whole Jim and Pam slow burn formula going on. They have that whole awkward, cringy, underqualified boss who just is, out there doing her thing. She's not exactly Michael Scott, but you do get some semblance of it. You can see there is some mirroring to The Office here, but I don't think it is still quite like The Office. Maybe they are they have the same formula. Personally, in terms of the romance dynamic between the 2 characters, I will not say Jim and Pam formula. It's more of a Leslie Ben formula from Parks and Rec. That was a really lovely couple too.
Yeah.
best TV couple in history for me, because they're very not like Jim and Pam. I mean, we'll discuss this later, but there was some undertones of toxicity there. The more rewatches that I watched, the more I realized. But Ben and Leslie are perfect as a couple, and if they can go with that formula, it'd be really refreshing to watch. I quite enjoyed it. I think it was 10 episodes, no, 13 episodes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 13 episodes.
13. And I really want more seasons. I feel like if they keep this up and if they improve it a little bit more, this could go into the A-grade sitcom Hall of Fame. I have a feeling. It's my prediction, if they kept it up.
Sure.
I feel like it would. So I'm gonna let you talk now.
Okay, so one thing I need to clarify, when I said the age of sitcom is dead, I meant this mockumentary style where there's a camera crew and they're documenting, there's, like the Office thing, right? The Office did it, it was perfect. I watched Parks and Rec too long ago. Did they do this in Parks and Rec? Was there a camera crew, or was it like documented?
No. Parks and Rec, The Office, Modern Family, they all were mockumentary style.
Yeah, I feel that particular niche is now, it's too late for that. That was like for an age past. That's what I need to clarify. Sitcoms, yeah, they're cool and all that, but then this particular type of sitcom I feel is outdated in today's time and age, because now everyone has a phone, everyone's recording all the time. It totally ruins that camera crew sort of feel, Like even now, if I watch a found footage movie and they do found footage with a camera, like proper camcorder, I'd be like, nah, that doesn't work. They do found footage with a cell phone. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that happening. It's very realistic. Also, I feel like what you don't want to do by comparing Office, I feel that that's really unfair, because it's basically the same sort of skeleton structure they have, where it's an organization and they're documenting that organization. And obviously Office settings are more like for adult side. This is a school setting. This is also an organization, it also has the workings of an office, if not the office. I need to talk about what I didn't like in this show. And that's going to be the constant reset. Each episode has this reset in characters. So it's like there'd be character development in one episode. The characters would work out their differences, they'd get together, everything's perfect at the end of the episode. And the next episode, they forget that even happened. And there's like, they press the reset button, and again, everyone's snarky and hating each other. And then same thing where they go and everyone's a happy family towards the end. And they do this each episode. That's one thing that really threw me off. I'm like, if there was consistent growth and they kept that growth throughout the season, I really would have liked this. And number two, this whole season did not have an antagonist. I feel like now with, especially us, because we review geek stuff all the time, maybe I'm too used to having the season antagonist. There has to be antagonists at the season. There has to be a goal, like for anything to reach there. I don't think I've watched any sitcoms for 5-6 years now. I really fell out of the sitcom scene. So maybe I'm too used to superhero shows and geek stuff. So that's one. That's another thing that kind of irritated me, but not as much as the constant reset of characters, because that happened every episode, and I'm like, did you forget to save your progress? What is going on over here? That just really threw me off.
Okay. I think I have a little bit of a counter for your points.
Okay.
One is the mockumentary style. I think based on the setting, it makes sense, right? So Modern Family is also a mockumentary style show, and I felt like it did not have to be a mockumentary. It's kind of like a whole little Full House situation, like different families of the same family, and I don't know why that had to be a mockumentary, but they had the little interviews in between, and that did not make sense to me for it to be a mockumentary. It could have been a simple comedy show. The Office, Parks and Rec, and Abbott Elementary, yes, they're all based on a setting, Parks and Rec government setting, the office, the corporate office, and Abbott Elementary is a school. I think it does make sense. Plus, the little camera looks we get are gold. Very reminiscent of Jim looking at the camera.
Definitely.
I feel like you get the character's actual its feelings about the situation. You know, like usually with it's very muted, right? You don't really get the full comprehension. Like you don't comprehend what they're actually thinking. When you look in the camera or they give you little sneaky looks, it kind of does make you laugh or crack up or make you relate. There were many scenes where like Ava like did like a one-liner and she just looked up at the camera and she's like, okay, I shouldn't have said that here, but I just said it anyway. And that really made me like crack up couple of times. And secondly, with the regression of character growth. So here's my take on this. There's another sitcom called The Goldbergs. I think that's been running for like, yeah, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I don't think I'd call it regression. I'd call it reset. Because regression implies that it's going backwards. The reset, they just start like afresh each time.
Okay. So there's another show called The Goldbergs that has been running for like, I think 9 seasons now. And that is where your point is very valid because now that it's been 9 seasons and 24 episodes each. So basically about like 200 something episodes later, it's the same thing. Every episode, the mother does something ridiculous and the children fight with her about it. And then she goes like, oh yeah, I realized I did something wrong. And that's been happening for 8 seasons now. And I'm thinking, when is this woman gonna realize? You know, like whatever, like why are we keeping the same plot? It's the same plot every episode or every other episode. The mom does something ridiculous, doesn't realize it, later realizes it, and then they make up. But here, I feel like the best way to show or build character dynamic is for them to have rough patches. When you work in an environment like this, I feel like when you work in an environment like this, you are going to have run-ins and brush-ins, even with a favorite coworker. I mean, how many times at work you have this one coworker you get along with, but then you don't agree on one thing, and it becomes a little bit of a competition or something, or a disagreement. That does happen. And I feel like there's more to grow. Like our characters, like the main character, what's her name? Janine, I think.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, Janine.
I feel like she's still very fresh, green. Like she wants to change the school universe, and that's why there's a lot of friction between her and the characters. But some characters really did have that flow established already. Like what's her name? Barbara and Melissa. Right?
Yeah.
They were really good friends, and then they had ones over small things. So that's how I think family fights. I think it's like they claim not to be a family, but they kind of are a family, wherein they're always going to have these little fights, little agreements, and then they're going to understand or realize something at the end. You mentioned that there was no antagonist. I feel like the antagonist here is the schooling system, public schooling system.
Yeah.
How bad it is.
Okay, but here's the thing. You remember the episode where they had to go through the board meeting and all that, and the principal and all. See, that felt like the perfect antagonist. Had that been the setup, like for the whole season, like we're gearing up towards a review and we're going to see if they're going to shut us down or not. That would have been the perfect end of season problem. And like every episode would build up to that. That would have been a very, very nicely done sort of deal. Like
I see what you mean.
Yeah, you see that? Like that was like the perfect problem. And then when they all work together, like the character development for Ava in that episode was peak. Because she eventually, through her humor and her, I don't know Sorry, what'd you say?
She was more grounded towards the end. You realize that.
Yeah. It's like that thing, it really, really, it worked perfectly. That one episode. And like the next episode, they're like going through field trip and I'm like, they kind of messed it up. Like this would have been the perfect season finale sort of deal. Like in that terms, only in those terms, I did not enjoy the show. But the stuff I did enjoy, the humor, the characters, the looking at the camera stuff, that's all like really, really good stuff.
I have to say, like in this day and age, you really have to. People like are usually walking on eggshells, and they make sitcoms, especially in terms of humor. I would argue that if The Office were to air today, it would be getting a lot of
canceled,
hate,
straight up canceled.
And I love that despite, personally for me, I feel like comedy does have to push the boundaries a little for you to be able to actually laugh. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. That's okay. Like anyone watching this, of course, like everyone has their own ratio of what's considered terribly offensive and what's not considered offensive. It's based on your experiences, your circumstances, your perception, and that's very respectable. But I always feel like comedy should push the boundary a bit. That's where pure comedy or pure art comes from. Art has always been rebellious. In terms of like paintings or drawings or even TV shows. But I loved so much that they didn't really go into the dark humory or like cancel humor thing, and it still managed to make me laugh.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that about this show. Like it was really wholesome. The dynamic is very wholesome, and I feel like at some point you are gonna have a proper antagonist where the school is everyone's gonna like end up working towards it. But right now I feel like they're still gelling together.
Yeah, testing the waters.
Like that.
Yeah.
And again, if I have to compare it with The Office and Parks and Rec, this was a very strong season 1 in comparison to both of them. And those for me are considered the best sitcoms of all time. I feel like I just want them to keep this up. And I appreciate them bringing out this show. I appreciate the creator. I think Quinta was her name.
Yes.
I appreciate the actress who was Ava. I love that woman. I think her name is Janelle in IRL. And amazing delivery of lines, amazing writing. Like the writing is very subtle, but most of the lines had a lot of like writing undertones. It wasn't like they're just random put out dialogues. Like delivery is so good by all of these actors that you could give them really plain lines and they would deliver it amazingly. They all have that expression. But to have really good actors and then to have really good lines behind them just makes it A+. There's many scenes like honorable mentions are Ava's Train to Busan line. And the one where like she's making that kid who couldn't read, and then Barbara goes like, "Come here," and then she goes like, "You owe me an Audible membership." Or like the one where she goes like, "Which one of the young Sheldons is gonna make me like make my name?" And I really like the little pop culture references. They really did accurately write the stuff. A+ writing. I can't flaw it.
Definitely.
A+ characters. I loved how every like you don't expect a pairing in every episode, but you get a really new pairing every episode. You get one with Melissa and Barbara. You get one with Melissa and Janine and Barbara, Janine and Greg and Barbara. And I love how every character has their own connection. They all have really good chemistry. I quite enjoyed the garden episode as well, where Jacob and Barbara bonded over the garden.
Yeah,
and it was really wholesome to watch. I liked it. A+ chemistry, A+ cast, and I do agree with you to an extent over the character reset, but I think that's just a matter of more time and more episodes and more character development and background.
Definitely. Maybe they're testing the waters here. Maybe they're trying to see what works and what doesn't. It's it's a season 1 of a show and stuff like this. Like you said, The Office and Parks and Rec, they didn't do so well season 1. This was relatively better. Let's see. I mean, I'm keeping an open mind for that. Part of that, I enjoyed the show. The humor was good. It's good stuff. Right? Good characters. If they didn't do the reset, it would have been better. But okay, happens. I'm not gonna comment on that part anymore. Who's your favorite character?
That is really hard to say. I mean, obviously Ava, but it's hard to say. I feel like I like most of the characters in their own way. That is when you know a show is really good because you aren't really centered around like fixating on one character and enjoying them. Yeah. I liked how everyone had their own brand to bring. I think Ava might be it for me, and maybe Melissa. I like Melissa. Like, oh yeah, and fun fact: have you watched The Parent Trap?
I have not.
So Melissa is one of the characters from The Parent Trap. I could barely recognize her. I think her name was Jane. I don't remember her name in my brain. But yeah, and it was also really fun to watch her after all these years on TV, and she did a brilliant job. Who are your favorite characters?
I feel that Janine's boyfriend was a really like you guys see in the beginning of the season you're just like he's not that good and all that, but then like his development was actually the one thing that didn't reset, because towards the end of the season, in the field trip episode, he was so attentive to the kids. Like he's not a teacher, he's not any of those things, but he's so attentive to that. He realized that one of his kids was missing, and he found out by them singing, and that's how he kept track of them. So that was like a really well done sort of thing. And I could feel like in the beginning they're trying to push the whole breakup thing because they really want Janine to get with Greg, and like I understand that they really want that, but then like Tariq, they feel like they've painted him as the bad guy in this relationship. I mean, they're both together since high school, right? High school sweethearts, so they've never met anyone outside of their relationship. Yeah, so I feel like they're putting him as the bad guy where he doesn't deserve to be the bad guy. Especially with that field trip episode, because he was really attentive and he was like focused on all the kids and all that. Good stuff.
I feel like they wanted us to not stereotype. I feel like they did not want us to think he was as bad as Janine was making him sound like, or we assumed. Because in most of the TV shows, when we get like a deadbeat boyfriend, we assume straight away that, yeah, he's useless. He's not going to be a colorful character. But the moment he walked in, I don't know why I enjoyed his character. I enjoyed the little song he had, little rap he had. His dynamic with Janine, like they had chemistry. You could see it. It wasn't just like a little forced unhappy relationship. Like in The Office, Pam had Roy and there was nothing going on for them. You could see that wasn't really a genuine relationship. But here you could tell that, yes, there's history. Yes, he has his really deadbeat flaws, but you could tell they had chemistry. You could tell they were best friends. And I appreciate them for doing that. They didn't just really make a colorless character out of him. They brought in someone who had personality, who was unique, who was distinct. I really enjoyed the little thing they have with her.
Yeah. That was like a nice touch.
And I don't know. Like, yes, ultimately Gregory and her are gonna end up together.
Yeah.
But I want to see more of him and her. I mean, a part of me did wish for that. It did. Like, it was really adorable. Like, all of it. And then in the school trip, they showed that this guy isn't as dumb as we assumed he would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's lazy.
And not as dumb as they showed him to be, because in the earlier episodes, they showed him pretty dumb.
I think he's just unaware of a few aspects, but he isn't overall dumb. And I like that they went with this direction. They didn't really paint him completely or make him a character to go with the narrative that they wanted us to pick up. They gave him his own narrative, and I also appreciate that part. I do. I liked it. It was enjoyable.
It was enjoyable.
I like Tariq. I like more of Tariq. We want more Tariq. Or how we would say it, Tariq. So I don't know.
Let's move on to ratings, unless you have anything else to say. I have this as a 7.5.
I'm gonna give it like a strong 8 for now.
Yeah, so that's pretty close. 7.5 I feel is very fair. If they didn't do that reset, 8.5 maybe. But yeah. Thank you all for watching. Let us know what you thought of the show, and be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Bye.